What's up, everybody? I am Destroyer, your coach of the Washington Wake Pokemon Draft League team, and we have just joined a new draft, Season 7 of Meloetta Draft League. I am one of the admins here, actually, and we are doing a reduced standard meta, or LTM plus meta, it's also called this season, just to shake it up a little bit from our usual meta. So basically, it's a lot of good Mon that are still there, but all the really big boys like Gouging Fire and Dragapult and Iron Valiant and stuff like that are gone, to kind of give some other Mons a bigger chance to shine bright here. So that said, I'm going to go through and introduce my draft to you guys. Really excited about this one. Got some old favorites as well as some new ones to try out here that I'm really excited to try. First up, my number one pick is Galarian Slowking. Used this one last season in MDL. This is just a really good Mon, and I think in this format especially, it's one of the best Mon that there are. One of the best defensive Mon, but it also has a lot of good offensive pressure as well. I think it has about a 110 base special attack, in addition to its great special defense and HP. Just a great, reliable defensive pivot to have on the team. It can Trick Room, it can Nasty Plot, it can Pivot, and it can Status a lot too. So it's a very flexible Mon with a great defensive typing. It's a reliable Poison type that we can bring to every single one of our games. Next up in round 2, I wanted to get something that paired pretty well with this thing, and I ended up going with Galarian Zapdos, who I have used before as well in a reduced meta, and I just really liked it. So this is my second time using Galarian Zapdos. I feel like it pairs pretty well with Slowking. Slowking is weak to Dark as well as Ground. This thing is a fighting and flying, so obviously it's immune to Ground, and it resists Dark type moves that threaten Slowking. So it has a couple of resistances that help Slowking out, and obviously it is weak to Fairy, which Slowking will resist. And I think that they just have some good synergy there. They both are able to pivot. Zapdos does U-turns for his pivot. Chilly Reception, obviously, on Slowking. And yeah, this thing is just really a great Scarf user. You can just slap a Scarf on it every week and call it good, and usually it is. But it has great, just kind of decent bulk, but great attack. It has dual 120 base power stab moves, which has hit everything really hard. The flying and fighting combination, I think there's very few Mon that are going to resist both of those stabs, and so this thing can just kind of spam things really well. Next up in round 3, I was really kind of surprised to see this Mon still here. Wasn't really planning to draft it, but because it was still there, I ended up doing it anyways. Never used it before. We're going to try it out for the first time, and it is Latias. Was a little bit hesitant just because I already have a Psychic type. I don't want to stack too many Psychic types, but we're going to do our best to kind of build around these two Psychic types and give enough options to support them so that we're not overly weak to Dark and Ghost. Latias is a great speed here at 110, so this is going to be one of the fastest Mons on our team. I think it's going to end up being the second fastest Mon on our team. Speed is a premium in this format, by the way, with a lot of the top speed options gone. So this thing is fast, it's bulky, it can recover, it can pivot with Baton Pass, it can Trick, it can Status, a lot that it can do. And so it's also a Dragon type, which is great for us to have. Its Levitate ability is really nice to pair with Glowking if we're not facing a... defensively, it's not going to work very well with Glowking as far as obviously the shared Psychic weaknesses, but it's going to work really well as far as just being another option to switch into if we're being threatened by an Earthquake. Speaking of Earthquakes, we have our 4th round pick up next, and we went with Mamoswine. Never tried Mamoswine before. Again, a first time one here for me. Mamoswine is kind of mid-speed, but it is very strong. It's pretty bulky. I had a game in reduced meta where this thing just tore my team to parts, to pieces, and so I just decided that I wanted to give this thing a try as well. It's a solid ground type. It can Stealth Rock. It can it can hit things really hard without setup. I think its only setup option is Curse, which is usable potentially, but not super consistent compared to other setups. But this thing doesn't really need setup, and it has an excellent stab combination. I think probably the best stab combination of any mon, offensively anyways. Ground, I mean ground types, you're switching into a flying type to escape an earthquake, and ice is hitting almost every flying type or levitate user for super effective damage. So this thing just kind of clicks buttons into stuff, hits almost everything for super effective damage. It also gets knockoff, also gets priority with Ice Shard. It can get Trailblaze to boost its speed. Just a really powerful mon that's hard to switch into. It's also, I think, pretty much the only ground type that resists ice. So usually your ground type is going to be weak to ice. We have 2 of our top 4 mon with Zapdos and Latias being weak to ice, so getting a ground type that helps to support them with that being a resistance. And then of course this is coming with thick fat ability is when this is a resistance. But rather than adding to that ice weakness, we were able to bolster our resistances there. Moving into round 5, it's time to get a fairy. Fairies are always going pretty fast because it's one of the most essential types to have in draft, in my opinion. We went with one of the top tier options available, which is Sylveon. Sylveon is very bulky. It can wish, it can calm mind. It just hits things really hard with its Pixelate ability. And yeah, so this thing, it can baton pass as well. It can do dual screens. It's just a great support mon defensively with wish and screens, as well as packing a huge punch offensively as well. I think it can do kind of similar roles that we've used in the past with our Screamtail, minus the Psychic weakness. Screamtail I think was already picked, but even if it was still there, we've already got 2 Psychics on the team. Don't want to continue adding more Ghost weaknesses. So Sylveon is just a good defensive pivot for us here, I think, that can apply offensive pressure when needed, and we are excited to try her out. Next up, in round 6, we went for our very first Terra Captain. And we got Terra Bisharp. Yeah, this was kind of a somewhat lower tier as far as points go, but this is essentially King Gambit. It's a bulkier King Gambit with Eviolite, and it's a King Gambit that can Terra in a format that does not allow the real King Gambit to Terra. So I can get this thing for 8 points with Terra, or I could get fully evolved King Gambit for I think 17 points that cannot Terra. So I went with this one. I've never used it before. I have used King Gambit, but it's just a very bulky mon. It has a glaring 4 times fighting weakness, but we can easily Terra out of that every single match if we want to. Just a very, very strong Terra Captain on paper. And it's a dark type. I wanted to get a pretty good dark type. So this having Bisharp completes a couple of cores for us. We have our Dark Psychic and Fairy. I'm sorry, Dark Psychic and Fighting core. We also have our Steel, Dragon, and Fairy core completed here with Bisharp. So it just helps us out with our defensive cores and coverage there. Next up in round 7, we went for our bulky Water. It's a somewhat familiar face for us. We picked up Vaporeon. We picked up Vaporeon last season in MDL as well, and ended up dropping it kind of midway through season, even after it had done a really nice amount of work for us the week, I think, before I dropped it. And as we're bringing it back, we're giving it another shot. It did really well for us. We shouldn't have dropped it to begin with. But yeah, this is just a great bulky Water. It can pivot with Flip Turn as Water Absorb. Immunities are always wonderful things to have. So yeah, we can come in and use this as a pivot. I think it's kind of the most common use for it. It can haze things with Haze or with Yawn. It can scald things and spread status with Burn. It can Wish Pass. So we've got multiple Wish Passers now, by the way, with Sylveon being the main one. Also being able to Wish Pass with Latias too, though. Yeah, and this thing can also do setup with Calm Mind, Stored Power, Scald, Acid Armor as well, so it's not shoehorned into just being a bulky water pivot like, say, Alomomola that I swapped it out for last season. Next up, we are picking up our second of 3 Terra Captains. Another somewhat familiar face that you may have seen in a recent draft of mine. We're going with Ursaring. I originally was planning to draft Slowking with Ursaluna, which is a combo that I've done before. Ursaluna is one of the most powerful mon in this format and also one of the most expensive. Ursaring can do almost the same stuff that Ursaluna can at a much cheaper price. So I think this was a 6-point mon instead of a 17-point mon. And because it's a Terra Captain, our facades on Ursaring are going to hit even harder than the higher attack facades on an Ursaluna. You can also run this thing with Eviolite and it can be extremely bulky. Obviously it gets Guts, and Quick Feet is an interesting option for it as well. It's a little bit faster than Ursaluna 2. A Trailblaze on this thing can get it going. Webs can help support this thing to get going and be faster than a lot of things that you wouldn't think it would be. And we also have Trick Room as an option with our Slowking there. So rather than kind of the same thing I guess I did with Bisharp over King Gambit, these are two first Terra Captains of ours are kind of Eviolite little brothers of their big brothers, and yeah, their value, and they also have added Terra where their big brothers do not. So as we moved into round number 8 now, I think we're in number 9 now, excuse me. Needed to get a rapid spinner. Some of the options were disappearing. I think some of the things that I was looking at had already been taken, and so I went back to old reliable. We went with Fortress again. We had Fortress and Slowking last season in MDL. It worked really well together. We're going to do the same thing again. This was just another good value pick. It adds a second steel type to my team. So another ice and fairy resist, which is especially good. This thing can pivot with Volt Switch. It can spin. It can just eat hits. It has all 3 hazards in it. It's just a great roll compression mon. At this point in the draft, this is really something that I feel like helped to pull together the rest of the team with the roles that it's been able to cover. So, speaking of spinners, for our 10th pick, and we've got 11 here, we went with another spinner that I haven't had the chance to try and draft yet. It is Regieleki. Look at that jumping around there. It's a non-Terra Regieleki, obviously. It is Terra banned in this league. And in most leagues, but Regieleki is the fastest mon in the game, which is a wonderful asset to have. Its problem is that it has a very shallow move pool when it cannot Terra. It has electric moves, it has a couple of normal moves, it gets like acrobatics if you want to go physical, and that's about it as far as attacks. So if they're bringing their ground type, we're going to be kind of limited with what we can do with Regieleki, but it can also rapid spin. It can also set screens. It can also explode. There's a number of tricks that you can do with Reggie. And so we are going to hopefully test out what we can do without Terra on this thing. And that brings us into our very final pick. We had 2 points left, both in our regular budget as well as our Terra budget. And we went with another kind of old favorite that I've drafted a couple times but haven't really used a whole lot. It is Levani the God. This thing is really awesome on Sun teams. I've used it really well on Sun teams with Chlorophyll. We unfortunately don't have a Sun team here, which ultimately is fine. But this thing is a cheap sticky webber. So we can sticky web with this thing. But that's not all that it can do. It can do dual screens. It has quite the offensive profile as well. With Swords Dance, it has triple axle, knockoff, leaf moves obviously, and bug, and it's a Terra Captain in an open Terra meta here for us. So this thing can essentially add whatever coverage we need in an offensive situation. Its speed isn't bad. It can use a little bit of help either from Sun, its own webs, or I think it gets agility as well. This may not be an every week mon for us, but it's one that people are going to have to take seriously because of the web threat, and hopefully we can surprise some folks with our offensive profile on this thing as well. And so that's it. That's the team. I appreciate you guys watching. Hope that you will join the season here for us. We're going to be doing uploads on Thursdays for MDL, and looking forward to a great season. I hope you guys will come along with us. Cheers.